All right, welcome back for episode 3 of NYR After Dark, late night Rangers talk for the fans who never log off. Today is going to be centered around July 1st, obviously. That's why we're pushing this episode out a little early. Lot to react to, lot to react to. So, before we get into it, what are your thoughts overall, Ivan?
Ooh, that was Drury was a busy man on July 1st, and I am very happy with the outcome of the entire day. I basically didn't have a complaint about it. I mean, we're going to talk about it in depth, but I really didn't have a complaint about it.
For sure, for sure. So, like I said, we're going to react to kind of just all of Jury's moves. We've got each one of them labeled out chronologically. Then we're going to get into a segment called Drop the Line. Basically, you're picking a line for the upcoming season that you're excited to see, maybe that you have some thoughts about, and then we'll get into what's next, right? Because sure, Drury said it was a retool, but he also actually came out today during the press conference that was private and held to nobody but the press, um, basically saying like we're not done, which is great to hear. But what's next, right? So we'll get into that. So kind of to start it off with July 1st, first move, maybe the most questionable move um, that Drury kind of made throughout the whole thing was we got Corpusalo, who's a goaltender for those of you who don't know, for a 2028 fourth round pick, and Kalle Väisänen, who's an AHL player. What we're going to do for each of these, just so you know, is we're going to grade them and then just kind of give our reasonings behind the grade. So, Ivan, what do you got for this Corpusalo grade?
So this set Ranger fans off because it was the first move of the day, and everybody's
For
just
sure.
like, "Oh, Drury's back to the way he is." So I gave this one a D minus. Um, I obviously I didn't like the move. Like we could have went a different route. No offense to Corpusalo, but he kind of sucks. But so do the rest of the backups, honestly. But everybody was like freaking out about it, and I was like, it's a bad move, but it's not like cap restricting or anything like that. Like we only have a $3 million hit. And like I said, he does suck, but I think it was like blown out of proportion. And I feel like a reason for that was because everybody's just like, oh, it's gonna block Dylan Garand now and everything like that, which I get, but at the same time, I don't think it's really gonna be that bad because Garand signed a 2 year extension. The first year is a two-way. So originally when I saw it, I was just like, oh, it's fine. Like we can send him down or whatever. But then he's now he can be taken off waivers. He has to go through waivers. So then I thought about it. I was just like, he's only played 3 games in the NHL. Like the Rangers weren't going to give him the backup job right away. Like he's got to prove himself a little bit. So my thought behind this is Garand's not going to start the season as our backup. It's going to be Corpusalo. And then if he sucks, then we send him down, bring Garand up, and then also if we send down Corpusalo, his cap hit's only 1.3. So everybody was like saying how like the $3 million hit sucks. We should have just signed a backup for a mil. If he sucks, we send him down. It's like a $1.3 million hit. It's not that bad. I don't think it's the end of the world. Garand's young. I think he's gonna have his chance. He'll be fine.
I think it's ironic because on on Wednesday, I was definitely the one who was a little more mad about this trade than you were, openly too. And I actually only gave it a D. I didn't give it a
Fair.
D minus. I just gave it a D. My reasoning for that is kind of like I get it, right? You want Garand to prove himself more. You want to create a preseason competition, but at that cost, and you can say it's not that big of a deal, and I guess it's not, but at the same time, like you could have done it cheaper and
Mm,
with a player who's better. Okay, to a player that's getting 2 by 4, and I understand we're only hit for 3, but 2 by 4, you could have found someone for cheaper, and you know that, so that's ridiculous.
oh
And
no. Yeah.
the past 3 seasons, his save percentage is an 892, not good, and he averages 3.21 goals allowed. I'm sorry, you can't tell me that there's not a better option out there for a little bit cheaper, or even a slightly worse option for a little cheaper, just to create the essence of a competition for Durant. I get it. We want the kid to have to earn that spot, but at the same time, like, why are we wasting not not important cap, but cap at all? Freddie Anderson signed, and I get that he's older and whatever, but he signed for a 1 year deal for 2.6 mil, and we're signing Corpusalo, who's got 2 years for four. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Um,
Yeah.
Not to mention, sure, Garand only had 3 games in the NHL to prove himself, but he had a whole season of AHL and did very well down there. Like, it's not like he's just, yeah, he only got 3 games and that was it. Like, we watched him all season in Hartford, and he did really well. So, I don't really understand the whole, like, you know, let's sign a guy who could potentially take that spot from him. That doesn't make sense to me. I get giving the competition, but why sign someone who's actually gonna compete, you know what I mean? Who actually, like, if we put him there, it's because like, we're not gonna be a contender this year. That's
Yeah,
really what I'm saying. We're not gonna be a contender either way. And if we
yeah.
are, it'll be wild card, but we're not competing for the cup. Why not let the kid get his lumps and make a couple mistakes and sit in that, as Igor's backup? He's not playing every game. He's not the starter. He's the backup, right?
Yeah.
He can sit in that spot for the season where we're not gonna be really competing for the cup anyway. That was more my mindset behind the anger of it
Oh,
all.
no, I mean, I feel like that was, like, the anger behind all Ranger fans that kept pointing out Garand and everything like that, and I get it, like, I see where everybody's coming from with it. The one thing I will or 2 things I will say. One being, um, I will give the Rangers credit, and, like, a lot of Ranger fans obviously know this, but, like, we bring in goalies, and we usually make them good. You know? I know Benoit is no longer there anymore and stuff like that, but, like, we still can bring in a goalie and make him good. They must see something in Korpisalo's game where they're like, "Alright, if we tweak this, we can maybe fix it," and, like, he can be a productive backup. And then, again, like I said, like, if he does suck, you know, if he does suck, we bring Garand up, he gets more games under his belt, and then next year, he can just be the full-time backup. I think he just has to, like, prove himself a little more. 3 games obviously isn't enough of a sample size. He did well in them. I think he won 2 of them. But like I said, it's just too small of a sample size to be like, "All right, here, you're the backup. You got this." So I see why they got a backup goalie, but, like, they could have went a different route. So I was gonna give this an F originally because everybody hated it, but I was just like, this isn't like
Yeah,
team
at the end of the day,
altering.
it's
Yeah,
it's not the biggest deal. Which is,
yeah.
again, like, as mad as I wasn't gonna go F either. Like, I'm not gonna be one of those Rangers fans that just overreacts.
I think the
Um,
worst part about it also was this technically the 4th round pick, right? I mean, like, giving up a pick
yeah,
for it was kinda
well,
was
that
kinda dumb.
that too is stupid.
Yeah.
So then we got Joe Veleno, 4th, probably 4th line center, right? Signing to a 1 by 1.2 deal. What'd you get for it?
I give this one a C plus. So to me, it's like I like the signing, to be honest. One thing I really liked about Drury this free agency was basically all his signings were no risk. Like, it's a 1-year deal, 1 times 1.2 mil. Like, I don't expect him to, try
Yeah,
to
not a
compete
lot of
for.
long-term commitment. Yeah,
Yeah,
or
exactly. I don't
locked up.
and for his case, like, I don't expect him to, like, compete for, like, the 3rd line center, or, like, I don't expect, like, high offensive numbers or anything like that. Like,
No.
he's there to be a fast defensive center and who can win faceoffs. Like, once we lost Sammy Syrup, it was, our 4th line center, role was just there was just a hole there. We couldn't figure it out. And I just feel like it's a good signing just to bring him in, and, like, he'll be a reliable defensive 4th line center, and it brings speed to our team, which I feel like we also need. So, I like the deal. Like I said, it's no risk to me. Like, I like that deal.
No, I agree with you. I had it for a C, but again, that's C to me is passing, right? Just in
Yeah.
school. C is passing, I'm cool with it,
C's
right?
get degrees.
Exactly. So my reasoning was not a move I hate at all. It's just not a needle mover, which is why it didn't
Yeah,
get higher, nothing crazy. Like you said, mentioned before, like you mentioned before, 90th percentile in skating speed, solid defensively, right? We're not getting crazy offensive numbers, but that's not what we're asking for out of a 4th line center, so that's totally fine, right? His past 3 seasons, he averages, and everyone's complaining about injuries with him, but he averages 70 and a half games played per season, 7 goals, 9.5 assists. He's a minus 14. But again, like, this is a 4th line center,
yeah,
right? You pair this kid, and we'll talk about it later, when we talk to drop a line, little spoiler alert, that's my pick for that segment. That's gonna be such a fun line when you've got Yarrow, who is physical and aggressive, great on the forecheck. You got Sikora, who's a fucking speedball, right? And then you add Veleno to that line. That to me is a phenomenal hard work, power horse 4th line. Very happy with that.
yeah, and I think
So
that's
I yeah.
yeah, I think Jerry's focus there was just, like, he wants a hardworking center. Like, that's
And
what he
that's
wants on the 4th
and that's
line.
what we're gonna get, man.
Yeah,
I'm very happy with that. Then you
yeah.
move on to another signing, Oliver Bjorkstrand. won by 4.5. I gave this one a B minus.
Mhm.
I again very happy with it. Right, solid temporary top six option that we could then bump down to the third line once if God forbid we do end up getting someone to fill into that top six wing spot. Um, like I said, I would love to grab him on the third line. I think him on a third line team is phenomenal.
Mhm.
Right, him on a second line team is like, okay, maybe a wild card or something, but I really, really like him eventually bumping down to the third line, whether we can bring a prospect up to that top six or we can sign someone else, or who knows, maybe another trade comes through. And again, like you said before, there's just no commitment with him, right? Where if it's not working out with him, we move him at the deadline for a pick, and it's a great call. Last season he had 80 games played, 12 goals, 20 assists. He was a minus 14. Uh, it's just a solid all around player. Just okay.
Yeah.
What'd you give him?
I yeah, I actually gave it this one a B plus, but it's mostly just because, or again, it's a no risk signing. Like it's a
Yep.
1 year deal, no trade protection, nothing like that. If the Rangers are out of a playoff spot or whatever, we can trade him at the deadline if we need to. He can fill a top six role. He can play middle six. Like he's very versatile, and also he's very, very good defensively. So he'll play our PK, and he just has a high like hockey IQ, and he's a play driver. Like I do like this move a lot, and um, he did have a down year, but I also feel like he wasn't utilized
He's yeah.
properly.
Listen,
Yeah,
yeah.
and he had like an unlucky year as well. Um, like I said, I think this is a no risk move, and I honestly do love the move also just because like Drury, like I know Anthony Mantha's not signed and everything like that, but like Drury could have, you know, tried to swing harder and like in the sense of like, oh, let me bring in like, a free agent with term and stuff like
Send
that. But
someone
he's
on
like,
term. Yep.
yeah, and he's like, "No, let me do the 1 year option," because, like, this is we're in the retool, so he the filler pieces for a retool, that's what I really like about these
Exactly.
moves. They're all just filler pieces, like, that's why, we talked about it last I think we talked about it last episode, like, Zooks or, Maselli or whatever, like, signing into a
Yes.
1, 2 year deal because it's like, there's no risk to it, and it's a filler for a retool, like, Jury's not done, like, this was a great first step for the retool, but he's not done.
No, and he
So,
came out and said that today
yeah.
during to the press, which was awesome to see because we all get caught up in like the what's in Drury's head because we don't really hear from him very often. So to hear him come out and say, "Listen, we're not done. We're still making tweaks. We're still doing this. We're going to do whatever can, help the team win." It's awesome to hear.
I s I I actually think he said, like, all the right things today. Like, it
He
wasn't
did. He
even,
said a
like
lot of good things.
even the thing about Smits, I loved what he said about Smits. Like, he was just basically being like, "We're not gonna rush him," like and I think it's
Yeah.
just like you think to yourself, like, Kako, Laugh, like, obviously they both started in the NHL, so it's just like maybe he's learning from his mistakes a little bit. And
No, and
I'm not saying Smits can't play in the NHL, but they're not gonna, like, just force him to play, like, uh, top 4 D-man and stuff like that.
no, and I think
So,
more importantly, not only is he saying that, he's showing that. Look at how many defensemen we have. We have a lot.
yeah,
Like he's
yeah,
showing like if we got to keep Robertson up for a little bit, we can do that while Smith develops, which is great.
yeah.
So then, right? So then we're sitting there, and breaking news. The New York Rangers are in talks for a defenseman. The vaguest statement in the world. They don't tell you who, they don't tell
Yeah.
you for what, they don't tell you what's going on. You're sitting there, and it was honestly maybe it felt like forever, but it was probably only like a half hour,
Oh, no, it was
and then
forever. It felt like forever.
it felt like forever, and then it comes out. We trade for Marcus Pettersson, and all we give up is and I say all we give up for a reason, right? Because I did hear some people complain about this, but all we give up is a 2030 first round pick, and it's top 10 protected. Would you
Yeah.
grade it?
So I actually gave this one an A. I do like this move, but it's not just straight up, obviously, for the pick for Marcus Pettersson. I think there's more to it in a sense. Like, one of the biggest things for me is I think this is just a pure upgrade over Will Borgen. So that's what I really like about it because Pettersson's 30, Will Borgen's 29, like basically the same age. Will Borgen's making a mil less, making four point something, and then Pettersson's making 5.5. But the thing is, like, Will Borgen is just no offense to the guy. He's just a boring player. Like he doesn't he's just there. I feel like he's just a
If you
third pair guy.
if you don't hear his name, that it was a good game.
Yeah, like he's just there. He's a third pair guy or whatever. And then we got Pedersen, and it's an upgrade over that. He's a top 4 defenseman. he's a defensive defenseman who can move the puck, which, holy crap, I've been saying, like, that's what we need in our defensive core is, like, people that can move the goddamn puck. And like I said, he's very defensively sound, and he blocked shots too. Like I looked it up, he had 136 blocked shots, and he played like 20 plus minutes a night. And I just like that move to replace Morgan because, like I said, it's only a mil difference or whatever, a year apart. And I know it's a first round pick, but one, it's top 10 protected, and two, in 2030, we'd hope that we're competing for a cup at that point, like or
Right.
like maybe that's the first year we're competing for a cup, and
Right.
so I'm not really you gotta move stuff to get stuff, and Marcus Pettersson is
Yeah.
someone we actually targeted when he was in Pittsburgh, and then he got traded to
In
Vancouver,
Vancouver.
like, we
Yeah.
were actually targeting him. So, like, we've clearly had an eye on him for a while, and, I'm not surprised he waived from Vancouver because they suck, even though we kinda
Yeah.
suck, but we're in a better spot than they are, so I like the move,
Absolutely.
he's lengthy, he's got good vision, he can move the puck, I like everything about him, to be honest.
For sure. Yeah, I graded it a B. I really like it as well. Um, I think him being a top four defenseman is huge, right? Obviously, we're talking about bolstering our blue line. I think it's phenomenal. Not to mention, he's a Sully grown guy,
Mhm.
right?
Oh, yeah,
All those
but
days in
yep,
Pittsburgh, been played with Sully, right? So he knows. So I think that was a big selling point for him, probably, right? Of why, hey, let's get you out of Vancouver anyway, right? And then, like we were talking about with that 2030 first round pick, it's 2030. We have more than enough time to either A, start competing for a cup by then, so who cares? Because it's a top 10 protected anyway, so God forbid. But on top of that, we could we could recover a first round pick in the 2030 draft at some point in the next 4 years. Like that's not
mhm,
unheard of.
yeah,
So I don't think that's a huge deal either. I really like it, especially for the return. I think, like you're saying, it was a huge upgrade because we get someone who can move the puck. Not to mention some of the other guys we got who can also move the puck. Like our blue line is completely revamped, and he's kind of the center point around it. He's a good age, right? Like we're happy about pretty much everything with this signing. The only reason it's not an A for me is and I'm so aware that this is like, um, not biased, but slightly, downplayed because of the team he was on, but his stats from last year kinda suck, right? Again, he's on Vancouver, so take it with a grain of salt, right? But he's got 82 games played last season, 3 goals, 15 assists, and he's a -19. For a defensive defenseman, I don't wanna see a -19. But again, it's Vancouver, it's the situation. That's just the only reason I gave it a B, not an A. Overall, other than that, very happy with it, right?
yeah, I thought about giving it, like, a B plus because of his age also, like, he is 30, but like I
Mhm.
said, because it replaces Borgin and you replace
It's okay.
you replace a 3rd pairing D-man with a 2nd pairing D-man only a year apart, it
Yeah,
made it
not
an
the
A
biggest
for
deal.
me. Yeah, and yeah, like you said, like, Vancouver sucked. So
No,
so
I know.
I'm not surprised he was -19. I mean, like, he was, when Quinn Hughes left, like, he became, like, the not
Yeah,
he's not a number
that's
1
it.
D-man, but yeah, it was him. So,
No,
uh,
and the only other reason too was it was the term on it was, we got another 5 years. That was
yeah,
the only other reason it wasn't an A for me, but again, not the worst deal. I could live with it.
yeah,
And then the mother of all transactions drops. We've been waiting since the deadline last year. We were told, "Hey, it's not happening at the deadline. Drury's gonna hold off and see if he can get more," right? And then we're hearing he's not getting more, and everyone's like, "Just keep him. Let's just keep Trocheck." Vinny Trocheck, God rest his soul, thank you for everything you did, gets traded to Utah for Sean Dursey, Cole Bodwin, and a 2027 third round pick. I gave this one an A minus. I was very, very happy with the turn. The only reason it's not an A plus is because I'm gonna miss him. I'll be
yeah.
very honest with you. And I understand that this is a necessary evil. He had to go. He was slightly declining, but on top of that, his value is never going to be higher than right now, right? Other than maybe the trade deadline last year. But either way, I don't even think we got a return this big if you're looking at it from that time to now. I think this is probably the best return we were going to get overall. Um, we had a right hand D to help out now in Dursey, who's another guy who can move the puck. We get a center prospect, big dude, and a very highly touted prospect who played on the Barry Colts, did phenomenal. We'll talk about that, right? We got Dursey playing that right hand defenseman. He's 27 years old, 2 by 6 mil. Again, a guy who can help now. He's 27. He's not super old, and he's a play driver. Like they talked about at the very end of last season, we need a guy who can carry the puck, and Thursday is that guy. Last season, he had 60 games played, 5 goals, 22 assists. He was a minus 12. Then we go to Cole Bowman. This is the centerpiece around this whole trade that happened. This kid is 20 years old. He is pretty big. And every scouting report, you can read anything on this kid, all it talks about is how the puck goes into a crowd and Bodwin comes out with it every
Mhm.
time. It could be him and 10 other dudes from the other team, and he comes out with it every single time. So last season in the OHL, 54 games played, 33 goals, 55 assists. He was a plus 40, which is like a ridiculous number. Um, I couldn't be happier. I'm going to be honest with you. I think where people complain about is not getting that first round pick. Bodwin's that first round pick to me, and it's just a kid who's ready to go a little sooner. Right? He's turning pro this year. He's going to play in Hartford. Um, I I would talk more because I am so excited about it, but I feel like I'm just so elated. There's nothing else to say. So what do you got for me?
I love I love this deal. I gave it an A. I would have given it an A plus, but I will miss Vinny Trocheck. I loved Vinny Trocheck. I didn't want to trade Vinny Trocheck. The only problem is it's the timing of everything. We're in
Yeah,
a retool. He's 32 years old. Like I know like it took a while. Teams definitely wanted Vinny Trocheck, but I think because of the chaos that was going on, like the Larkin stuff, all the bigger names that were out there, it's just like teams were focusing on that.
yeah,
And
he was
I
getting
think that
overshadowed.
yeah, and I think that's what, like, slowed it down, and, like, hey, let's be real, Billy G kinda fucked up because he could have traded for Trocheck, he wouldn't pay for the package, then, obviously, like, the offseason came, the Link Larkin stuff apparently the Larkin stuff was happening in the background, so he probably already knew about it, he's been trying to get it for a while. Stevie Y isn't just gonna trade, you know, Dylan Larkin for pennies on the dollar, like, he wants something in return. Apparently, the rumor was that if he wanted to go to Minnesota, he would want Matt Boldy. That's not happening.
I saw that. That's hilarious.
I don't know if that's true, but that's crazy. And Billy G, obviously, he was focused on Larkin. Trocheck now gets traded to Utah, and then today you saw like the trade, like or the yeah, it was a trade or signing. Yeah, no, it was a trade. They got Blake Coleman, who's a center. But
Mhm.
like if they don't get Larkin, like that's an issue. And yeah, I love Vinny. I hope he does great in Utah. And I like the story behind it. Utah's wanted him for a while apparently.
Mhm. Yeah,
But
and he wasn't on they weren't on his list, and then
yeah,
he
and he
dropped
didn't.
down to 10 teams.
Yeah, I think he didn't want to go there, and they were trying to get him for a while, and apparently they convinced him. So I love that. So Sean Dursey, love him, top four D man. You know, or top pair, yeah, top
Yeah, top
4
4.
D man. Yeah, yeah. Can move the puck and everything like that. I like the move. He's 27, 2 times 6. I love it. That's great. I'm just more excited about the center prospect. I've been saying
Bowden.
forever. Yeah, the the Rangers need to focus down the middle, and I feel like they ignore it all the time. I get we have Mika, JT, Trocheck, so why focus on the middle or whatever, but, like, we have no one in our pipeline, and now we have the kid we drafted, I forgot his name, and now we got Bodwin, like, I love him. He's a buzzsaw. He's a good two-way center. Like everything you read about him, he's a high energy guy, goes to the dirty areas, like you said, goes to the corners, comes out with the puck, causes chaos. Love everything about it. I asked on Twitter today what people thought about him. People were comparing him to like Vinny Trocheck, Sam
Yeah,
Bennett, Jordan Stahl. I love all three of those. If he could be our next Trocheck, I would love that.
it's a
I
huge.
love
It's
everything about
huge.
that. Yeah, and then, so I looked it up also, his NHL comparison is Boone Jenner, which I don't hate as a comparison. I hope for more offense than Boone
Yeah,
Jenner, but, like
his ceiling should be a little higher, hopefully.
yeah, that's why, like, I more so would like a, Vinny Trocheck kind of player,
Mhm.
um, but yeah, he's not the fastest player, but like I said, just goes to the dirty areas. He's got a good hockey IQ and everything like that. Kinda reminds me of Gabe in a sense where he's, like, not the fastest skater, but his hockey IQ is so good that, like, that, um, it he can play around his speed and stuff like that, or not having that much speed. I love the whole move. I thought the move was great.
No, I agree with you. Yeah, it was phenomenal. So, and then we had 2 signings today, actually. Um, right, because that was all that whirlwind, right? We're decompressing because it was a whirlwind of a day on Wednesday. Today, this morning, they signed Dennis Chalowski AHL defenseman. Um, it's really just to bolster Hartford's back end. I graded it C minus. Again, not terrible, just kind of a non-factor, right? We're just trying to fill in because all we have down there is Jackson Dorrington, and they need someone else. And then we signed Glenn Gaudin. Again, C plus. This is another AHL guy. He's a 29-year-old center slash right wing. He has a history of leadership in the AHL. Both teams that he was on, um, he wore an A, and then in the WHL, when he was in WHL, he was a captain. So I think it's another great addition to Hartford, right? Yes, we're trying to make the Rangers better, but does it hurt to have Hartford be successful as well? Not at all. It's awesome. So hopefully that they'll be able to see some success, and that'll kind of contribute to Green Tree, Bodwin, right? All those guys down there. Um, so I was actually happy with pretty much both of those.
Yeah, I think, like you said, they're both AHL moves, like, they're probably not gonna see any NHL time, so they're, like, minor moves to me, um, but overall, like, I don't mind them.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so I don't know if you had this set up, but I kind of gave Jury an overall grade.
Oh, we got
Um,
Borgen.
oh, Borgen. Oh my god, I
Yeah.
can't believe I went past that. Sorry. So Willie B. Willie B got moved for a 2027 second round pick and a conditional 2028 third round pick that can turn into a second. Um, I graded that one a B. To me, this one came so late in the day that I wasn't even really paying attention when it happened, if I'm gonna be very honest with you. Um, and I'm in the minority here, I loved Will Borgen purely because he was a team guy. If there was ever a scrum, Borgen got in it, and no one was allowed to touch any of his teammates, which I did really, really respect. However, he tailed off at the end of the season. His term, or not his term, but his contract was not great, right? I graded this a B, solid value at a crowded position, right? It was either him or Schneider. Someone was going to go. Um, you're taking a chance on the upside of a younger player when you use Braden Schneider there. You get to dump his 4.1 mil cap. I mean, not a bad move. And it's funny to someone today because obviously, like I said, I was very upset about the Corp Salo trade. Someone today on Twitter kind of brought it up to me and was like, "Well, they're both with Boston. If you kind of package them together into one trade, it's a little easier to swallow and not so big of a deal."
Yeah.
So, would you give the Willie B trade?
So I give it a B. I just like I said before, I don't hate Borgen. I have nothing against the guy. He's just he's just a third pairing D man. He's just boring. Like, and I'm not saying boring in a bad way. Like, it's just he's not gonna like overly
No,
impress you.
not a high impact
No,
player.
like he'll play solid defense, might contribute offensively once in a while, but like it's not nothing special. And I think Drew. I know it wasn't a big contract, but giving him 5 years, 4 point whatever it was, like
4.1, yeah, it's too much.
yeah, when he signed it, that was like a lot of people did not I don't want to say freak out, but they were just like that was a lot of money to give Will Borgen and a lot of term to give Will Borgen. So I think like Drury like was trying to maybe just get out of that contract at that point. Like I said, he's 29. Like you were gonna have him for another 4 years, and like he wasn't bringing enough to the team. Like we could get a cheaper third pairing D man. Like if it would be different if he was a second pairing D man and he was like producing offensively a little bit and could move the puck a little bit better. But I don't know. I don't mind. I like getting the picks out of it. It was a second and a third, and then third is like conditional, so it can turn into two second round picks.
Mhm.
So I like the trade. Nothing against Will Borgen, but
No,
I
that's
like
honestly, I think 2 seconds is way more than Will Borgen's worth, if I'm being honest. So that's totally fine.
yeah.
I'm
Yeah, I'm
totally cool with
surprised
that.
to be honest, because I mean, you saw the tweet or it just like randomly came out. They were like, "There's a lot of teams that are calling about Will Borgen," and I think everybody on Twitter was just like, "Yeah, take him, like, please
Well,
do."
I don't think his cap hit is as big of a deal as
No,
everyone's
no,
making it out
I
to
don't
be.
either. No,
It's 4.1 for let's call him what he is, right? He's an uneventful but solid defenseman. Like when he was at his, I don't want to say prime, but more like when he was at his peak with the Rangers and doing his best, he was solid. Nobody was
yeah,
getting past him. He wasn't doing anything spectacular. There was almost no offensive input at all. However, it was a guy that you were like, it's all good. Willie B's on the ice. Like he'll take care of it. Like
yeah.
it definitely tailed off at the end of the season. It definitely did not look good towards the end of his tenure here. But for the most part, like I had no issue with him. And like I said, that's what I liked about him was that he was physical. We didn't have a lot of physical people at the time back on the blue line, so I was very happy with it.
Yeah, I was gonna actually give this a lower grade, to be honest, because Will Borgen was part of the return for Kako. So I was like, that makes it worse if you think about it that way. But I
Yeah,
tried
but
to
you
like,
can't. You
yeah,
can't. You gotta
I
separate
tried to
them.
take, I tried to take that out of it. But
You gotta separate them.
yeah.
All right, so moving forward, drop me a line or a potential line, right? Because we don't really know how they're gonna shake things up. Give me a line that you are excited to see more of, or a line that you just think is gonna be super exciting, or even different for this next upcoming season.
So, because obviously we wanted to pick 2 different lines just because don't wanna talk about the same line. So, originally, I was gonna pick Gabe, Mika, and Laugh because, the second half of the season was incredible for all 3 of them, especially Gabe and especially Laugh. I think Laugh ended the year with 27 points in 26 games, and, like, when Panarin left, because Panarin's so, like, puck dominant that, like, I feel like that really affected Laugh's game. And then once
Yeah, he needs to
Panarin
be a play
left,
driver.
yeah, and then once Panarin left, like, Laugh was kind of the one who's just like, "Okay, like, now, like, give me the puck. I'll, I'll be the play driver, possess the puck and stuff like that." And, like, he has good hands and stuff like that. He has a high hockey IQ. So, like, once he was given that opportunity, finally, by the way, he showed, like, his potential. Listen, I know I'm a Laugh homer, but, like, I've been saying for years,
Yeah.
like, you need to he's a number 1 pick. You needed to at some point earlier, you needed to give him, you know, top line minutes or, like, put more trust into him and just let him go because, like, you could I mean, his breakout season when he got on the Panarin and Trocheck line, like, he had moments where you're like, "Oh, like, this is why he was, like, a number 1 pick." Like, even in the playoffs, like, I'll never forget him driving to the net and going backhand over Bob's shoulder and, like, diving. Like, he was great, and, like, the line that I chose, I don't wanna break up that line, but I would love to see Doro, Mika, and Laugh play together. I think that would be an elite line, like a dynamic line. Doro isn't Panarin. He's not this dynamic playmaker or whatever, but he is a pure goal
Pure
scorer.
scorer. Yep.
Yeah, and personally for me, I think Laugh is an underrated or underappreciated playmaker. Like, he can handle the puck and he can pass the puck. And I think if he plays on a line with Doro, they can legit be an elite line. And also, you have Doro on the left shooting right, and then you have Laugh on the right shooting left. Like, everybody's open to the net and stuff like that. Like, I think it can really be a dynamic line. And then obviously, you have Mika in the middle. Um, my expectation, like, this is my expectation for the line, to be honest, and I don't even think it's, like, that outrageous, but, like, next year for Laugh, his career high is, I think, is 57 or 58. I wanna see him score 70 points next year. I want him to, if he could, be like a 30-40 guy because he's been close to that. He's I think his highest goals was 28 or 29, and he gets into, like, the 30s for assists, and I feel like if he's playing on a top line with Doro and Mika and getting PP one time, like, a 30-40 season shouldn't be a problem. And then for Doro, I would like him, like, I'm not gonna say 40 goal scorer because he hasn't hit 40 yet, but if he can hit 35 and then, like, 30 assists or whatever, like, I would be very happy with both of those numbers for both of them. And Mika, I didn't really give a number amount, like, I just want Mika to be Mika. So, but I just that
Oh,
line can be so dynamic, and then also with the power play, I know that's the whole unit, but, like, Mika on the half wall on the left, Doro on the opposite side, Laugh net front, Fox at the point, J.T. Miller probably at the bumper. We want it to be Gabe, but it's gonna be JT, we all know it. And I think our power play is gonna be gross this year.
well, I'm glad you picked that line because I never would have picked that line because I refuse to
I
allow
know.
that unit to be broken up. So,
I know, I know.
you know, I get where you're coming from, and it does. I think if we ended up with a another top 6 pure scorer, kinda like Doro, I would be cool with taking Gabe off that line because I think it would make more sense to have Gabe, who's a playmaker, and Laugh, who's a playmaker on the separate lines. But just because of pure vibes and chemistry,
Oh, the vibes were
and the
great.
fact that we only have Doro. That's a pure scorer. Like,
Yeah.
again, if we get, like, let's say in a fucking perfect world, Green Tree kills preseason and comes out, Green Tree's a pure scorer. Put that guy on the second line. You can drop Gabe. I'm cool. Put Doro up on the top line. Totally fine with it. But until that happens, or we trade for someone who can go into the top six and is a pure scorer, I'm keeping that line together. So the line I picked was actually our projected fourth line: Sakura, Valeno, Yaro, Melash. I am so excited to see this line purely for the fact that that is going to be exciting hockey. Okay. When you get guys who are out there like Yaro just doing what he does, man, that guy can do everything. Then you got Sakura, who's a Spitfire. He's gonna haul ass towards the puck. Valeno, who's skating 90th percentile. I mean, you really can't ask for a better um, prototype for a fourth line. So I'm very, very excited to see. Am I expecting a crazy amount of goals? Am I expecting a crazy amount of offensive production? Not at all. But I'm expecting for high tempo, high intensity, good forecheck, and just, you don't feel like they're a liability when they're on the ice. And I'm really looking forward to that because I really can't stand how our fourth line was last season, where it was like just a revolving door of people. We got Radish, you got this guy, you got this guy. You're just putting people in and out. I would love to see this line stay this line. I'm going to be honest with you. And I know we got some kids trying to come up, but I'd rather you put them on the third line or second line or somewhere else. I want to see this fourth line get consistent playing time. Not to mention, you get that chemistry between Sakura and Yaro, who were roommates in Hartford. You watch all the little social media posts, how funny they are together. Like, I
They're
just
best
think
friends.
that's what I mean, dude. That's a
Yeah,
great thing to have on your fourth line. Like, that is just your infectious energy line. So I'm
yeah.
very, very excited for that.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I would like that line to stay the same, but I think it's still gonna be a little bit of a revolving door just because, I mean, we don't know what's happening with Rempe. Like, it's I'm assuming he's still gonna get playing time, and then, like, Radish, that's another one where to be honest, I thought we were gonna trade Radish, and I still want us to trade Radish. Um, but, like, he can also be on because I could easily see them going, Radish, Villano, and then, Rempe or something like that.
Yeah.
I like Yarrow, though. I think Yarrow, like, he needs a spot on the team, like, on the roster. Like, he impressed me last year, and I wanna give him, like, another full shot. And then also Sikora, like, I mean, he's just a water bug. I just he gives me such Zuccarello vibes, and I love that about him. So I do like that line, and I agree with you.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it. All right. So, like Jerry said, it's not done, right? The retool started and it's in full effect for sure. And he definitely made some strong moves, but what's next? Um, I'm gonna kind of just repeat myself where I said we need a top six winner. We do.
Mhm.
We need a pure scorer. And again, whether that comes from someone we have down in the AHL or in the prospect pool, or if it's someone we trade for or sign, we need a top six winger. If we can do that, I feel real good about our top six.
Yeah.
Real good. Right now, we have Bjorkstrand in there. I don't feel terrible. I don't love it, right? I think him on a third line feels a lot better. Um, we also need to see the young guys flourish, whether that's up at the Rangers or down in Hartford. Smiths, Fortescue, Greentree, Bodwin. I need to see them excel where they are. And I think if that's the case, then we feel good about giving up the picks that we gave up. And I really think that we're in a really, really good place for this retool.
Yeah. I don't I don't disagree with you. I So the way I mean, I don't know, I guess Ranger fans all look at a retool in a different sense. Like, when I think retool, like, I feel like a lot of Ranger fans think like, "Oh, like, Drury's gonna make enough moves so we're a cup contender next year." And I don't think that's the case. Like, a retool in my mind is a 2 to 3-year process. Like, this was a fantastic first step, I think. Like I said, he knows where this team stands. Like, this team right now is not a cup contending team. There is no need to make unnecessary signings. The one I was scared of was Mario Ferraro. Like, Anthony Mantha, like, I know he's still a free agent or whatever, but like, and there's still a possibility we can sign him. But like, we didn't need to sign anybody to term or anything like that because Drury knows that like none of them are gonna make us a cup contender. So like, I want him to continue like this. Like I said, this was the first step of the retool. Like, I think to be honest, if we're healthy, I think we can actually be like a playoff team possibly. Like, I do really like our lineup. I'm not saying cup contender at all, but, like, I can see us cracking into the playoffs and stuff like that. Um, I just I just think, like, this is such a great first step, and like, I see it next offseason being like, "Okay, Drury doing the same thing." He's just like, "Alright, how do we get younger? How do we get better pieces in?" And, another thing that are you agreeing with me or not agreeing with me?
I'm agree with you. I'm agree with you.
Oh, okay. Um, another thing I love about what Drury did is, like, you think about this, like, a year or so ago or 2 years ago, whatever, like, when Drury originally, reshaped our blue line, it was Borgen, Vakanainen, and Susie. And then, like, you look at him reshape our blue line now, and it's, Pettersson, Dursey, and Smits, I'll throw in there, like, that's a different retool than it was, whatever, a year or 2 ago, like, I think he's in such the right mindset now, like, "Hey, let's get younger players in here and stuff," and I just want him to continue that. Um, I still say focus on maybe getting a center. Um, I really, really, really wanted the Rangers to trade for Maverick Bork, and I think he was one of the first moves yesterday, and Nashville traded, for him, only costed, like, a second round pick or something like that, like, I thought that would've been a great player to get for us, like, Rangers coulda taken advantage of Dallas's, cap space and stuff like that. But I still think the Rangers, need to move on from some players. Like Schneider, I think you can move on from. Still, like, I said Radish. Like, the Ducks, they still desperately need D-men. Like, I'm looking at them being like, "Dude, do you want
It's
Schneider?" And I know this is a stretch, but, like, if the Rangers could somehow get Roger McQueen from the Ducks, he's a, prospect, he's a center prospect, he's like 6'5" or whatever. Like, I just want Drury to keep moving in this direction, to keep getting younger. I think he's doing a great job. I feel like now we're actually on a correct track where we're like, okay, we see the vision of the retool, and I want to keep going in this direction. I'm very happy with what we've seen so far. I'm excited to see what comes next. And like I said, I just think we're on the right track now, and I'm really happy about it.
No, I agree with you, and I think, you know, depending on how the offseason goes and kinda just how we keep moving forward, I think Drury has his head in the right space, and I
Hmm.
think we are, kinda destined for finishing up this retool. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think we're getting there. Do I know if it ends in a cup? No, of course not. But I think no matter what, we are in a better place than we were, and that's kind of at this point all you can ask for, right?
Yeah, like
Um,
that's yeah, that and the whole point of the retool, like I said, it's like it's probably like a 2 to 3 year process anyway. Like I'm not expecting us to be a playoff, even a playoff team this year. I think with the lineup, we potentially could be a playoff team. Do I think we're cup contenders? No shot. But we're going in the right direction. Maybe another move for another young top six guy next year or whatever at the trade deadline. Like he's put the team in a much better position than it was a year ago. I will say.
all right, guys. Well, thank you for listening to NYR After Dark. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all that fun stuff. We'll see you next week for some more Rangers late night talk. Um, I mean, hell of a July 1st, man.
Hell yeah.
Totally up from here.
Yep. Thanks, guys.